Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Discover New Music podcast from Pelt Music. Shortly, we're going to be chatting with Dead Air, who we featured in our ones to watch for 2025 over in Pelt magazine. We're just days away from the release of their new EP, Elements, where they are absolutely going to back up that claim as ones to watch. You are certainly going to want to check out that EP. The band are also about to play some headline shows across the UK, so do follow them on social media, see where they're playing, and pop along to a show if you can. While you're there, give Full Pelt a follow. We're on Facebook at Full Pelt and Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. Lastly, from me for now, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, wherever you're watching or listening. Absolutely delighted to welcome Dead Air to the Discover New Music podcast. We've got Ruben, Lyle, and Rich with us. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you all doing this evening?
Very good, thanks. Yeah. No, thank you so much for having us on. Very excited to do this.
Yeah, well, that is the key word, excited, because it's an exciting time for the band at the moment. Because as we talk, we are mere days away from the release of your second EP, Elements. And of course, you've got some shows that you're going to be playing coming up after the release, which is always an exciting thing for a band to be doing. So we've
Yeah.
got plenty to be talking about. But being we are on our Discover New Music podcast, we always start off with the same little feature. And it is in the hope that there are some people listening to this that are discovering Dead Air and sort of understanding the band for the first time. So we will start with something we call the origin story, which
Mm.
sounds very grandiose, but it's probably the simplest question we're going to ask. And it is, simply how did you guys come together? What is the origin story of Dead Air?
That starts with these two over here.
Yeah, do you want to go for it, Rich?
No, go on, Lyle. You can go for it. I did it last time.
Like, man. So, like, me and Rich basically met at uni. We lived in the sort of like the same halls. Just went out and got, do what students do and got drunk every weekend, and then sort of ended up realizing that. Well, actually, I could hear his electric drum kit through two floors. In halls, which made me realise he plays drums. I not too long ago picked up guitar, started doing some practice sessions and played some rock music. And then after uni we just decided to move down to London sort of separately, but sort of continue trying to make music. And lived there for about 4 or 5 months or something. And then met Ruben in his old record store in Streatham Hill. They were blasting out. I think it was Stylo by Gorillaz, wasn't it?
The one, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, this is a cool place. So I'll go check. So I had a look in, met Ruben, started chatting, and asked him to come to a practice, and that's it really.
Yeah, the rest is history, as they say. And I mean, you must have enjoyed what you heard through those walls at university, and thought Rich is a pretty decent drummer then if you decided to reach out.
Well, I don't know. I thought someone was bouncing a tennis ball above my room for the longest time. But really fast, though, He's clearly practicing some blast beats or something.
There were quite a few complaints in that halls, I have to say.
I can imagine.
Bad guy.
Well, hopefully, in a few years' time, they'll be watching telly or listening to radio or whatever, and they'll sort of see your face. Won't see your face on the radio, of course, see it on the telly, and they'll be like, "Hang on, that's the annoying guy with the drums. Hang on, he's smashing it now. Look at him go!" Like, so hopefully, all be worth it. And as I said to you before we started recording, I've been reviewing the EP. We'll have the review up on the website in the next day or two. And I absolutely loved it. Such a great little collection, 4 songs on there, and just all 4 of them bangers, as the kids would say these days. So absolutely, I'll plug throughout this podcast. I always do, and listeners, the first one for me is going to be, get hold of that record as it comes out, and obviously give it a spin, give it a listen, and hopefully we can whet the appetite for your listeners with a few deep dives into it. And the first one's going to be the song "Die." So we always like to ask about the song that we're featured on the accompanying playlist for this podcast, and "Die" is that track for you guys. So what can you tell me about that song? Yeah, how did it come together for you? What's it all about?
Die was a it was a two-part song. So there's another one. I don't know if that first part's ever gonna come out. We've worked on it for a very long time and nothing seemed to really clicked with it. Who knows though, it's in the locker. But the second part of Die, it was just a song that I was playing in my room basically. I think I was at a pretty low point when I started talking. The first part is very low, the second part was supposed to be coming out of this low point. Um, it's like, why did I fuck it up and die? Um, so yeah, it's kind of like just the build up, shall I say? Just yeah, trying to pull yourself out of whatever you're going through at that moment. Musically, it really didn't take shape until I brought it to the lads. It was kind of just like just a bass part and vocals, and then the boys just threw on what they had, and it just completely changed the song for the better. It was just yeah, these lot added a lot to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely killer track. I mean, as someone that allegedly tried to play the bass in his younger years, I mean, I
Oh yeah.
really did pick up the bass. You know, really drives that song, and obviously just aesthetically is really pleasing to me. So
Oh, cheers,
so
man. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Like yeah, as you say, great track, and always interested as well to ask about some of the music videos that are out there and. I'll try and hone in on just one of the songs, and actually, we're starting off with that song today, "Be and Die," and obviously, music videos for me are a bit of a passion. I grew up watching, Scars, MTV, Kerrang, etc. Bit of a dying art these days. You know, a lot of bands don't go through the effort because budget and time, etc., etc.
Oh,
And
don't we know it?
yeah, exactly. It is difficult, but I mean, I absolutely love the video for Die as well. As a standalone piece of art in and of itself, because it's just a great concept actually, and just again visually, like sort of supports the song really, really well. I feel so. I mean, with the video for the song, how did you come up with that concept? How did you put it into practice?
Rich.
Yeah, I can't remember how it started. There was a so basically we were debating kind of like a number of different ideas, and I think you came in with something like an iteration before this one, Rue, but I can't remember what it was.
Oh, was it the Wheelies version? Heelys
Oh
version?
shit, yeah. So we always had this idea of basically like some form of competition, and the first I think version was basically that all of the band would be like competing on Heelys, those old little shoes you used to get. Um, and then I think we spoke with the powers that be and came to the conclusion that was actually a pretty terrible idea. So we went for the skate kind of competition in the end. No, it's just good fun. I grew up like watching all that stuff, like the Foo Fighters videos and that kind of crap on Kerrang, which is now no longer on the TV, which is a real shame.
Yeah, it is absolute shame. It really is like, and we've got something called Full Pelt TV where we'll be featuring this video and a bit of that chat over on our next episode. And definitely always drive listeners to YouTube because that's where we have to go these days. You know, definitely go and check it out. I mean, as I say, the song's driven by that bass, and I allegedly used to play bass. I also fancied myself as a skateboarder when I was young. So, that video in particular and that song does speak to me and takes me back too many years because I'm getting too old these days. But yeah, definitely a great track to start us off with. As I said, one of four great tracks. Now, the next one I want to ask about is Violently Blue. So that was the first song you put out from this EP, the first taste of this new music that came out obviously towards the end of last year. And that brings it about a question that I'm always intrigued in is, of course, with any album or an EP in this case, you've always got to pick one of the songs to be that first song. There can only be one first song that comes out. For me, I say I've got a couple of little kids. It almost feels a bit like picking your favorite kids. You don't necessarily want to do it. So, how did you make that decision? Or what about Violently Blue stood out to you guys to be? This is the song that we want to push out there first.
Who wants to grab that one?
Right, you go for it, Ruse.
Oh, I'm happy to. It was a very strategic choice, actually, this one. Um, it came down to both Die and Violently Blue as the two songs we wanted to have as the singles on this record. Um, just Violently Blue has this really cinematic vibe, and it's just so sad for the most part. Like the riff is just crushing at times, and but we knew it wasn't the lead single, and we hadn't released anything for 2 years. So our management team was like, "You want a soft release? Get in there, just get something back to get draw the people in, and then we go big for Die." Um, so that's how why it happened in that order. But yeah, definitely, it's one of our favorite songs, especially recorded. We got to play around a lot with the soundscapes on there in the studio. Lau, you spent a lot of time with Davide trying to get some cool sounds. Even when at home, you were messing around with like delays and everything on your pedal board.
Yeah, it was I think we wanted to do something different with the sound as well, and show that we could do something more than just like fast paced rock, or like the I don't know how you know how you scale some of the older songs, like Answering the Question, but it's not quite the same. Like it's a little bit more experimental, I guess, as far as our music goes, with Violently Blue. But yeah, just like layering a load of guitars, trying out new pedals, and trying to make something that sounds I don't know, just way different than what people would expect our first track to be released from the new EP. But it was a lot of fun recording that one. Like I said, Roops, I did a lot of experimentation with the sounds, and just trying out new guitar parts. Just trying to layer up everything and make sure it all sounds, I don't know, just a bit more in depth, I guess, than just straight up like distorted guitar riffs.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such an important decision, that first single, especially as you say, you hadn't released any music in a couple of years, even though, you'd built quite a bit of momentum before, as well. And obviously, picking that song is, I wouldn't go as far as saying, make or break, but it definitely makes a hell of a difference. And, I love as well, the, uh, going back to the EP, the 4 songs on there, I will just make this sort of statement now as well that, they've all got that, same, sort of, brand isn't the word I really want to use because it's too corporate, but you know what I get, that same vibe across all of them. It's definitely dead air, making these songs, but they all do also stand on their own really well. So they fit as a piece as an EP, but you've got 4 sort of, I say, killer tracks there that each tells their own story, and I think that's just a fantastic uh, element of the EP. There you go.
Hey,
I
there we
said
go.
it.
Yes, man. Oh, cheers for that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, now I've broken out the pun. Let's ask about it. So, obviously, Elements, the EP, is out on the 7th of February. Days away as we talk, and hopefully, this EP, this episode of the podcast, will come out before the release as well. Really to whet the appetites of the listeners. So, first question on the EP itself is, being we are days away, how excited are you to get it out there into the world?
Just
I think it's more relief.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
no, it's been it's been a very long time since we've dropped. I mean, obviously we've done the singles, but to have these songs out, we've kind of been like waiting for so long. It's just like, is this the right time? No. Okay, back to the drawing board. What do we need to get together? What do we So to finally have it out there for everyone to hear, just yeah, can't yeah, words can't describe it.
Yeah, because I mean, as well, we're talking about that the break you've had, and obviously maybe a few false starts there. Like, was this the time? You've arrived now at this time. Is there obviously a apprehension and nervousness to putting out something like this? Just a few days away from it, and reactions, feedback are instantaneous these days. It's not like the olden days. Again, make myself sound old when I say the olden days, but you don't have to wait for like magazines to come out. You don't have to wait to talk to people at shows. Of course, as soon as you put music out now, you can see the comments. It's on social media, it's on YouTube, etc., etc. Is there a nervousness to obviously making that leap and putting that out there?
Oh, definitely a little bit, but to be honest, like I think one of the reasons it took us a while is because we get so excited on like a new idea very quickly. So we might have had say 5 tracks that we were really keen on and wanted to record, but we go and play for a weekend or whatever, and we have another 5 that are ultimately then more important for some reason. Like we just our brains work quite weirdly. I like some days I don't really like the tracks on the EP, but other days I do like them because we're just so excited about the new stuff as well. I don't know. Some people do come out with some horrible comments,
Yeah,
but
well,
also some absolute belters as well. So it's kind of you got to take it for what it is.
yeah, got to take the rough with the smooth. It's a cruel world out there, and some people just want to hate for the sake of hating, don't they?
To be
But
fair, we've
you
never
know,
had anything like really bad. They're just kind of we seem to have attracted a lot of sad people, especially on the Violently Blue one. Just people like screaming to the world.
They need a space for
Yeah.
it.
Called Violently Blue, to be fair.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
yeah, no, I can dig those vibes. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So it is the second EP. We've said about that, you know, and obviously, you know, for any young band getting to go and record, be it, you know, just one song or an EP, an album, whatever, it's always like an interesting experience. And doing it for the second time, I'm just keen to know, you know, what kind of lessons did you bring into the process this time round that you perhaps learned that first time round? Perhaps anything like, oh, let's not do that again, or oh, that worked really well last time. We'd like to make sure we sort of play it that way this time. You know, is there anything that you picked up on and translated across?
For me, I think it was more like it's like trying to hone the songwriting skills itself that we tried to focus on. Um, like I mentioned earlier, we tried lots of different stuff with sound and making unique sounds and stuff. But I think it was more an exercise in seeing how good of a song we could write rather than just getting something out there as it was with the first EP. Because yeah, comparatively, the songs are a lot more concise. You know, they tend to be a bit more catchy as well on this EP than the first one. But yeah, I think it was more like just trying to be better songwriters and trying to make a song that was more unique to us rather than trying to make a song because we wanted to sound like, I don't know, Queens of the Stone Age or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely getting the sort of quality over quantity sort of feel from you guys, and that's obviously a great approach to take, you know. So yeah, no, kudos, and I mean there is definitely some elements of Quatzer in there as well, though.
Yeah, of course. We can't shake that, man.
No, and why the hell would you like try to shake that?
That's it.
Because yeah, what a band. But yeah, absolutely, listeners. Again, from me, you know, this EP is, you know, it's only 4 songs. It's obviously well worth your time to go and check it out. You know, be that streaming when it comes out, or you can still pre-order vinyl, beautiful vinyl of it. So yeah, are you guys
Yes,
excited
yes,
to have
yes.
that obviously ability to get that vinyl out as well?
It's insane. Honestly, it's one of those things which is quite difficult to do in the industry now. It's so expensive. There's so few pressing plants. It's not every day that you get a chance to do this. So we are very thankful that people have been able to pull strings and get this together for us. As soon as that test print's in my hand, I'm just gonna lose it. I'm not gonna lie, mate. Yeah, it's something they can't take away from you. It's physical. So yeah.
Yeah, you'll always have that,
Hmm.
absolutely. And I'm glad you touched on it. I mean, I try not to dwell on this, but I do sort of go on various rants and get on my soapbox on this podcast. But you know, the music industry is incredibly tough, and a lot of fans probably don't realize quite how tough. Like you say, like just getting a vinyl out, actually, you know, finding someone that can print at a relatively decent cost, you know, and distribute, etc., etc., is tough. And so is the element of the industry we're about to move on to, and that's the live side. You know, a lot of fans on social media are going, "Oh, why aren't you playing in my town or city?" Well, actually, it's really hard to, you know, we need someone to book us onto a show that actually can promote it so people actually turn up. You know, we need to be able to get there. We need to be able to have the equipment there to play. You know, it is difficult to get out and play shows, but thankfully, you guys are going to be doing that. So, I mean, end of
Yes.
this month, you're out for a headline tour that stretches across, you know, a few weekends into March. So, I mean, you must be excited, obviously, first things first, to get out and play these songs live.
It's been so long since we've played a show. It feels so long ago. I cannot wait. It's going to be so good. The we've always actually on the show point. We've actually always done. It's rare that we get to actually work with promoters. It's the first time we've ever really worked with a proper promoter. Um, but we've mostly just done it DIY ourselves. So it's more a place of like kind of where's feasible from obviously driving there and whatnot. Um, but it's the thing that we've struggled with is probably like festivals kind of get on that scene, which would be good. I'd love to play the songs there because you kind of write them with that goal of playing them to loads of people. So that would be sick. No, but we need to get on the road. It's been way too long.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, any festival promoters listening to this podcast, definitely pick this band up because I mean, these songs, you
Get it.
listen to them on the EP, and one of the first thoughts I had, especially with a song like "Die," I just think, oh man, I want to hear that song live. That's going to be so good
Oh,
live. So, absolutely. If listeners again, I always give out the social handles. You guys make it really easy for me. Official Dead Air. On Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Sometimes I have to read out three or four different ones with all sorts of underscores and stuff in there. So thank you guys for just having the one. It makes my life a lot easier. But that's the place listeners these days. They go follow the band, see obviously the tour poster on there. See if there's a show you can get to and come along and support the band. Because as I say, the industry's tough, but fans, the things that you can do are pre-order. Albums, pre-order this EP, obviously massively help the band out, and buy tickets in advance. It does really, really help support bands. If you buy that ticket in advance, I mean, rocking up on the day is great too because at least you're going. But if you can get it in advance, it does definitely help. And I say, these songs, is there anyone that you're particularly, as a group or individuals excited to go? Yes, I want to play playing this song live. I think it's going to translate really well.
I think for me, Die, obviously it's the song that's just come out, but like that, it's got so much energy and well, we've played it live a few times before on some previous shows, but the I think we've sort of got the energy behind it now. We're more comfortable playing it like as a package. But when it gets to sort of like the outro section of the song, where it really sort of like hits hard, that I think people will enjoy listening to that and moshing to that as much as we play it. Like it's a lot of energy, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, definitely Die for me.
I'm in the same boat. That breakdown at the end, man. I just want to see what it does to people.
Yeah. How about you, Rich? Are you fully on that Die train, or is there another one?
Do you know what? I want to get Love and Patience back because we've had that song since pretty much day one. So what's that? 3 years, maybe 4 years now. Um, and it's gone through so many changes as well, but always kept like some things have been the same, like the riff and kind of the verse has always been the same. But we had a new chorus and all that sort of stuff. So it's kind of weird playing it because it's been so different to how we used to play it. So I'm looking forward to bringing that one back. Actually, that's going to be good.
Yeah, I agree with that. Actually, it's a nice little groovy little track, that one.
Yeah, and there's some even off like City Sins we haven't played in a while. Like we're thinking maybe we might bring Expect back. Maybe even play Am I High, which we haven't played in a long time. We'll see. We've got a lot of new ones as well. This is what's very exciting.
Yeah, I mean that's the word we picked on at the start of the podcast, isn't it? Exciting, and it is an exciting time, absolutely, for Dead Air. We've got one sort of final segment that closes out the podcast, and it follows the live conversation, and we've kind of scratched the surface a little bit. So it's called Setlist Science.
Oh,
And I said I was a music video geek. I'm also like a setlist geek. I love to see what bands are playing, and sometimes, obviously, when I'm doing these podcasts, I get one member of the band, and obviously they'll give me their thoughts on it. I'm always intrigued when we've got obviously everyone here because set lists can be quite contentious. So this could be interesting. But I mean, the main question that I'm going to lead with is, how much importance do you place into the structure of your set lists, and have you got any rules that you tend to follow with them?
We argue over the set list all the time, especially in the lead up to a tour. It's great. Um, yeah, we place a lot of importance on it. There is no hard and set rule. I think we have to play it out a few times and play it in different orders and work out what flows best. It's not necessarily just a vibe thing as well. Sometimes it's also what tunings are we in? What guitar because we have multiple guitars for our shows. So sometimes that, but I guess that also plays into the vibe as well, because how long are you taking to change over all of that? You don't want to leave the crowd in silence for too long. So yeah, yeah, it's a lot of thought goes into it. Getting our set list down.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad to hear it because it is so important. Like you say, just the little features, like don't leave that crowd like for too long a time. And as well, love the fact that you said you'll kind of see how it goes and maybe adapt because I think there's a lot of bands, especially bigger bands, that obviously these days have got just standard set lists that they play throughout an entire tour. And I can understand that they've put the effort into building that set list, and obviously it's structured in a certain way because again, changes of like tuning instruments, etc., etc. You've got to build like that kind of stuff in. But I mean, I have seen quite a few bands because I do pay attention to set lists where I just think that song clearly doesn't work in that spot. And you can tell that they know that it probably doesn't work in that spot, but they're just, stubborn and they're not going to change it. But I mean, you have got to be able to adapt with it. So it's a good attitude that you got, absolutely with
Well,
that. So
we've actually kind of, it's weird how thinking about the set list has kind of made you think about what kind of vibe of the songs you want to write, like going forward. Like we've in like the early conversations we've been having about the music we've got kind of going on behind all the EP, the recording and kind of pre-production, which is very exciting and under wraps. But it's like you think about like gaps in your set list maybe, or like kind of things which didn't feel as good, or like a momentum might have changed and kind of why is that, and kind of feed that into the writing process a bit. So it's like it leaves a lot to experiment with, which is always good. And it's kind of nice to see like take new songs on the road and I think change up the set list as well, like you say, just to see how people react, give people a unique show every time if you can, maybe a few covers.
I think it's also pretty mad how big of a difference 15 minutes makes in a set. Like if we play a hard
yeah,
set, we automatically just want to go like balls to the wall and play like with all the energy possible. But 45 minutes, all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, like we can put this slow song in, but if we put another slow song in, the entire thing's sort of like a different vibe entirely, you know.
Take notes, yeah.
yeah. I say just subtle little things like that can have such a big impact on the momentum of the set, and how the audience are going to respond to it. And I mean that obviously will be impacted by loads of variables such as the venue, the type of audience, i.e. the support band, the headline band, is it a festival, etc., etc. But yeah, obviously it seems like you guys. Sort of pass this test for me, as it were, because you definitely put a lot of thought into it, which is always good. The sort of second part of the question these days that we added in last year, probably it might even be the year before that now, but peekaboo for adults, encores.
Ah,
After it would become that internet meme, we just thought, oh, let's just ask that question. Why not? Basically, yes or no. Either for yourselves or, when you're at a show, perhaps, what are your thoughts on encores?
oh,
The only time it's ever been great was at a Tool gig where it's not an encore, it's like a 10-minute break where you can like just zap out of it, go to the toilet, get a beer, and then like resume for another 25 minutes. That's quite good. But like this kind of pointless going off just to create space and go again, I'd rather just get another song in.
mm,
Yeah.
very much agree.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that as well. There's no point in just waiting around for a load of applause. Everyone knows you're going to come back if you
Yeah.
Yeah.
left like until the doors shut, So play it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And a cautionary tale I've told a few times on this podcast now, because obviously this podcast is me talking to a lot of younger, newer bands. There's a band that I had on the podcast and like got on really really well with, local to me, and see them quite a lot. And there was this one show on the tour they did, and I knew that they had an encore planned. I knew what the set list was going to be, and they went off stage, and the sound guy just turned the lights on, turned the music on. Everyone started walking off, and I'm just sitting there like, man, they got like three more songs. But
No
by then,
way.
everyone's gone. I could just see the band peering around the corner, going like, "Well, bugger." So always brief up your sound guy,
Yeah.
the
Oh
engineers,
man,
if you got a encore coming. I mean, that is a hot tip.
That happened to us on our
definitely.
first ever gig. The sound guy
No.
off. Yeah.
But it wasn't because we were playing an encore. That's just because it was like,
No, because
yeah.
that's too long.
Not because he wasn't enjoying you, like it's
I
like, no,
No.
got 7 bands in the lineup. It was, it was great. And the sound
Chaos.
turned up like 30, 40 minutes late as well. It was, yeah. great introduction to gigging with the band. So,
Oh, fantastic. But yeah, a memory there for you. And obviously, you've got out there, you've played a load more shows. So, again, listeners, last plug for me is definitely go and listen to these songs that we talked about live. There's tour dates coming up. You're playing quite a few like good places for gigs where there's some good scenes. So, hopefully there'll be some listeners that can pop along to the shows. And obviously, that's my final message. It's been great chatting with you guys, but I give the final message over to you guys. So, what would be your final message for the listeners today?
Thank you so much for streaming the new single. It's been amazing seeing everyone's reaction. Um, and if you're liking what you're hearing, come down to the tour and pre-order that vinyl. Means a lot to us, seriously. It's been a crazy year already, and we're only in February. Yeah, catch you soon.
Well, I really do hope you enjoyed that chat there with Dead Air. There's lots to get involved with the band. The EP Elements is out on the 7th of February, and there's a headline tour to follow. You should follow them on social media at Official Dead Air, and while you're there, also follow Full Pelt. Of course, we're on Facebook at Full Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. Lastly, from me, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, wherever you're watching or listening, because we'll be back very soon with another episode of the Discover New Music podcast.